Chef Rosenberg. We are back. We're not taking a big break here. We want to jump right on in. Let me see what this says. Damn, woke up still scrolling. I have literally been racking my brain on this for over a year now. So this was somebody I had earlier posted that we were going to go live about this particular topic. We're an hour ahead of schedule because Ulrich had an early work day. His early work day has led us to be
Show
here.
off the doc. There's 3 people in this show. What's the matter?
Oh, come on.
Yeah. The doc is not vain like you, Ulrich. Come on, come on. Matter of fact, let me finish what I was saying here. So basically, we have Ulrich who got out of work early, and I had to run. I picked up Ulrich. So now we're going to talk about this. We're going to have a discussion really quickly about Marcus Houston.
What happened there?
Do you know when I say Marcus Houston, what are you thinking?
IMX, immature. You got served.
You got served. Was that like a movie?
Are you serious? You don't know you got served?
I'm older than you. You got served.
It came out 2002.
I was probably too grown for that.
But that was one of the corniest, funniest movies ever. It was like these dudes. They was having a dance battle against each other. They were gonna dancing for pride or something. Marcus Houston.
What kind of pride?
Omarion, all right, Marcus Houston and Omarion were like they were like buddies. They were good buddies, right? Mm-hmm. And they were in this dance troupe. They were in this dance crew, right? And all of a sudden, Marcus Houston, Omarion started getting closer to Marcus Houston's sister, who played Clara on My Wife and Kids, right? So she got closer to him, and like they started having a relationship. And because they're drug runners. So in one of their drug runs,
Marcus Houston played the role of a drug runner?
They were dancers. That wasn't a big part of it. They hid that part. They only showed them dancing and having a good time and being friendly. So, but Omarion and Marcus Houston were drug runners. So they were drug runners for this this big guy. And then one time, Omarion and Marcus Houston were scheduled to run some drugs. And unfortunately, Omarion was hanging out with Marcus Houston's sister, so he couldn't run the drugs, and Marcus Houston got robbed. So now once he found out that the reason he didn't show up was because he was hanging out with the sister, there was a rift. There was a rift among them. So now they split the dance crews. So now Marcus Houston's dancing with one crew, and Omarion's dancing with another crew. And eventually, it takes some other kid in B2K getting shot for them to get past their differences. But eventually, they get past their differences, and they enter the dance battle together, and they win in unison. So, all right.
I feel good story.
So that you got served.
So when I said, what do you think when I say the word Marcus Houston? This is what you think of.
Yes, you got served. That's his iconic role to
Doc, what do you think of when I say Marcus Houston?
I think of an indescript singer, person who...
Indescript, is that a word?
Yeah, that's a word.
Yeah.
I think of the word nondescript. I never heard of indescript. What is the difference?
Google it.
Ulrich knows. Ulrich is our guy. Ulrich is our guy.
You say
you don't need to Google it. Ulrich got it. Just go.
No. First of all, you.
With that,
Elvis has been selling me as a wordsmith. I'm apt in words, and I'm adept in certain words. If you start quizzing me and stuff like that, you're gonna lose your image of me.
Okay. But you're really good.
So I think it's a word.
I'm really good.
Is it a word, indescript?
All right, we'll look this up.
Let's see.
What was the word that you said, Doc?
That was it.
You said you said nondescript. You said
Indescript.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so Chad, if you can find it before we can do it.
So the idea with Marcus Houston is just this singer that they decide to, that they got hold of his talent before we got hold of it. And so now he sings, but I think over a couple of, maybe a couple of years ago, kind of learned that he had gotten married, and it kind of made news because he was maybe I think a decade or 2 decades older than his wife. So, and that's pretty much where I'm at with it.
Okay, when I think of Marcus Houston, what I think of is I think he's a very smart, intelligent man. And a lot more men need to understand a guy like Marcus Houston and where he's coming from. I wouldn't say I look up to Marcus Houston, but if I was a younger man, I would be, I wouldn't be the guy at the barbershop talking S about him. I would be the guy in the barbershop saying, yo, I think this guy's onto something. And I remember Marcus Houston being down with Immature, and I never paid him any mind.
He was Roger on Sister Sister.
Well, you see, I don't know anything about that.
That was his
like,
first exposure.
Yeah,
Sister,
he was like,
Sister.
yeah, he was like a kid and stuff like that. I don't know.
And he would always sing on the show. Yeah.
Right. And then I remember his first album came out. That was in 2002. And or 2001 because I was driving.
That was maybe a solo album, but
yeah, the solo album.
Immature IMX in the 90s.
I don't know anything about any of those albums. I never listened to any of them. It wasn't until I was driving a cab in 2002. I drove a cab for a few months. This is in between. We had a bar, and the floor of the bar was condemned. And we had to figure out what we were gonna do. So we moved the bar from 2246 to 2256 on the same exact block. We just took everything out of the bar and put it in the new bar. And then when we did that, we realized that everything we had from the old bar was old, and we just threw everything out and started from scratch. You know, I remember I took out the toilets from the old bar and brought them to the new bar, and now I'm looking at them like, these are some big old ugly looking toilets. So we went to Home Depot and just spent like, you know, $89 and got some new toilets.
There's some vintage toilets.
Yeah. So we tried to that's what we did, but in the middle of that, I wound up driving a cab. It's called, well, the cab that I drove was called OJ's. And that's when they were all underground cab bases where you could go in the person's car, you could smoke, you could drink, and they were known for letting you sit up front with them. I was a little different. I never let anyone sit up front with me. You had to sit in the back and you couldn't smoke. I was a little more.
You're paranoid. Cautious.
I wasn't paranoid, cautious. I wanted separation from the people. You know, I didn't want to be your friend. You know, I didn't want us to be cool like that because I'm like, I looked at it that I was working for you. I'm a private contractor, and every 15 minutes you're my boss. And I think that's one of the reasons why I made so much money doing it, because I took it very serious and I only worked. I didn't socialize, but I drove, and I had a new car at the time, and the car was all full of leathers, 2 sunroofs. It was a good looking car, and it was brand new. It was my first brand new car. It had 15 miles on it when I bought it. And maybe 7 miles, something like 11 miles, something like that. It was under 15 miles. So I used that vehicle in 2002 to survive, to pay bills, pay my rent and things like that. And I would play Marcus Houston a lot. I remember I got my hand on his first album, and that's with Joe Button's MH. Up in the club where we do things like throw our hands up.
I know that.
Up in the club. So, that was like my favorite song. And so when I think of Marcus Houston, I think about that first amazing album. And then he also did that other album where he was like, it was called Naked.
I know that. Can I play that for the
No, because we can't play it in
music. For use?
No, they're not gonna let it. They're gonna let it go. Even though YouTube has just changed their terms and conditions where they're gonna allow us to, if we do have an issue with a copyright, we can then pay that person, the copyrighted person, a fee and just have it rock. But they haven't.
Did they express what that fee would be?
They haven't determined what the fee is.
They're trying to figure out what cut they're going to take off of it and let the other people know. So they have all the copyright stuff, but the person that's getting copyright.
They just have to make an unreasonable fee where they would incentivize.
They keep all that money in escrow, and then after they take it.
Yeah, that's the one thing with YouTube, that their copyrights are changing and it's very, very fluid. A lot like this reality that we're living in, except that. Anyway, I'm not gonna go there. But so when I think of Marcus Houston, I think about a cool time when I was driving a cab, running through the Bronx. It was a Bronx cab base. That was one of the few places where the OJs still lived, and I was riding through the Bronx for that time in my life. It was a good time. I did really well. I always made I would stop at $250 because at some point I had to realize that I'm giving the base 30% of whatever I make. So I wasn't trying to get them spoiled, you know. So I was paying out every night something like $70 a night. So it was every $100 I made, I had to give them 30. So there was never a day I didn't give them $70. And it was a pain in the ass to do that, but it helped me be the man that I am now because I understand how to pay for stuff. Where, you know, a lot of people, they don't, like in other words, I pay taxes. Like I'm in the cannabis business and I actually pay taxes on my cannabis. And I don't even charge, you have to pay, for my cannabis, you have to pay with electronic billing. So that I just, right now, I'm giving all of my records for my electronic billing to my accountant. And all my bank statements that I'm showing, this is what I use, this is how much it's costing me, this is how much it's costing me in the car. So it helped that I did that experience because I recognize that the house has to win. It made me a better person because I hated to give them 30% of my money every night because I'm a high earner. I'm gonna put in the 10 to 12 hours a day, no matter what. I'm gonna bust my ass, I'm gonna get these people where they're going in a timely manner. And the car was always immaculate, always clean. And I learned that, you know, a lot of people hate that, giving the government their cut. There's a lot of people that are fighting to figure out ways not to pay the man, where I was able to understand how it's because of it's because of this base's reputation and all the people that they know in the 20, 30 years that this cab base has been there, and the fact that they allowed me, I was honored. Oh, here's another thing. This cab business was illegal. Did I tell you that part?
You did not tell
Yeah,
us
they
that
didn't have
part.
the shield.
Yeah, this was a base where I did not have my TLC license, nor was my car a TLC license plate.
What's the statute of limitations on that?
Well, I paid taxes for all those years that I was even doing the cab business, so I'm good. All my monies, that
That's how that
$250 a day that I made,
But I was in Haiti anyway.
huh? Oh, yeah, but, yeah, I get it. No, but my point is that it made me a better person. I remember that time, Marcus Houston, he has a good place in my heart because I was in a good place where I was my own boss, making my own money, making the decisions, and that led me to be a lot of the businessman that I am today. So when I think of Marcus Houston, it's in a positive way, you know? And when I see him now having this little bit of controversy, do you know about the controversy that he's going through right now?
So I know about
Open this up for me. I'm gonna show you.
So yeah, I know about the story about him allegedly grooming a younger woman who he's associated with, and then he ended up getting engaged with her, getting involved with her. I don't know what the extent of their relationship is.
Okay.
But I do know about that aspect. I don't know anything. I haven't heard Marcus Houston's name in maybe since I've heard that story about Marcus Houston. You mentioned him. I never ever think about Marcus Houston.
Right.
I only think about him if You Got Served came on.
Right.
That's him.
So he has a good place in my heart. And for you just all of us, most people just go to Google, type up Marcus Houston, and then go to images. It's gonna pop right up. It's actually what I used for the thumbnail was a Google image that came right up. So he's in the forefront of the Google space at the moment.
Also, I'm not one to talk about hairline because mine is non-existent.
Right.
Marcus Houston, he's I've never seen somebody more opposed to going bald than him. He's literally
He's fighting.
He is fighting with all his strength. His hairline is the craziest thing I've ever seen. And I'm not a roaster. I'm saying this like scientifically.
Right.
I'm not saying this to make fun of him. It is like it is shocking.
So what we're gonna talk about is this picture here that he posted the other day. And I purposefully did not put this picture out. This picture that I put on the thumbnail was something that he took 2 days ago. But earlier in the week, Marcus Houston took this picture here.
Is it zesty?
No, it's a picture of him, his wife, and his child. And there's a quote in this picture. Well, I can't find out they got rid of that. That's interesting. Well, this is the picture that he posted when I called up the doc a few years ago, and I was like, "Yo, did you hear about Marcus Houston?" He's like, "No," and I was like, "Go to your phone right now. I'm gonna send you something." So I sent the doc this picture of Marcus Houston years ago, a couple of years back, and this is the picture of him marrying this woman here, and the woman is like, she was like 18. 19 years old.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about.
Right. And
Wait, did it have like a caption to it earlier or something? Like before, and like it said something like
Here it
hey,
goes.
sometimes you gotta wait a little bit to be for happiness or something along those lines.
all right, so then this is the next picture he just released this week, and on the top it says Marcus Houston 40 with wife 22 celebrates 3 years of marriage, 10 years together. So he's saying that he's been with his wife for 10 years.
Oh, I did not. Do you want to show him that picture? I did not know this conversation was going there.
You did not know this.
So who posted that?
He posted this.
Idiot.
Marcus Houston with his wife.
He was feeling good.
What do we give her? What is his wife? What is she? What do we give her?
Let me take a look.
On
No,
the rate, what are we rating her? Come on, Ulrich, it's okay. Come on.
Childish, man. I don't rate chicks, man. First of all, the listen.
She got the powder on her, but I think she might still be able to be, you know, a real. I think she might even get close to 8.
All right. So one thing he made an
My God,
interesting-
she's
the
an
doc-
8
The
all
doc
day.
made an interesting
Yeah,
point,
get
and he
close to
said
an
he
8.
got the powder on her. How can you rate anybody by picture? For one. Secondly, how can you rate anybody by numbers? Me and my buddies, I was the one who came up with this. So how me and my friends, how I would used to rate girls, how early you would be in a club or bar and start talking to them. So I'd say this is a 10 p.m. This is a 12:32. This is a 3 a.m. This is a
So I'd say the 10 p.m. might be the 8. The
That-
3:30.
I say exactly. Exactly. So
It's still rating
so-
six.
It's a great rating system, actually, Ulrich. For a guy who doesn't believe in rating, it's a pretty good one.
No, I did want to show I did want to tell about my rating system. I don't use that anymore. But I did want to say that because
You've matured.
I think it was unique. It was unique.
Okay,
But-
so you're
but-
patting yourself on the back.
Yes, I'm patting
For
myself
your-
on the
That he
back.
wasn't that callous.
Yeah, but I wouldn't rate her now because honestly, it's not even good. It has nothing to do with that. It's more so that I realize that sometimes I can be really attracted to a woman who's sweet to me, even though she might not even be like.
That's not what we're talking about. We're not talking
Just
about
physical.
that. We're talking physical,
Physical.
sexual marketplace value. I would say
What
she's
sexual- what do
this
you-
Marcus Houston's wife is an 8 o'clock reservation all the way to a 10 p.m. dinner drink. She is an adjustable 8, which means she can be a 10.
I know what you mean by that.
She can be a 10.
Based on how well she puts herself together. I
Yeah,
understand.
she's smoking hot. I don't really care for the weaves. You know, that's not my thing. I like a natural, I like a black woman with an afro, you know, with a fist up. That's what I enjoy at the
Now I don't care about the politics, but I don't.
When I say fist up, let me just say the fist is
They better
the
not.
fist
They
is
better not be
attached.
political.
The-
They better not.
The fist is attached to an afro pick. Is my point, not the political side of it.
Gotcha.
That's my point. And also, I say she's smoking hot, and the fact that she's 22 is helping tremendously.
I mean, look.
What do you say? Here's my
Go ahead.
question.
All right.
What do you say when I say Marcus Houston is claiming that he was with his wife for the last 10 years? That means that she was 12.
I didn't. I thought that was obvious. When we were talking about it earlier, I know the last time I heard about Marcus Houston was because Marcus Houston was having some strife, or he had some controversy towards him based on that he was alleged to have groomed the woman, and groomed the woman that he's known since. I heard the numbers that she was like 16 or something like that. The 12 just makes it more just dramatic than how already I thought it was like messed up and inappropriate. So if your question is, I think this is okay, then no, I don't. I think it's creepy.
What say you, Doc?
I used to feel, I felt exactly the same way that Ulrich felt. You know, at some point in the past. The thing is, I have a different understanding of it now. We have to understand every type of situation, there could be tremendous amount of abuse. And I believe this is a pattern of existence that, you know, predates us a very long time. But the men at the time that did this type of stuff had a different type of moral code. They weren't lustful idiots. They weren't like, oh, I'm trying to, you know, I'm grooming this person to be the woman that's going to be able to hold and create a family for me. I'm not trying to violate her sexually and stuff like that to mess around. It's, you know, it's a grooming. So now I don't know whether or not that's the route that he went.
Yeah, but
I don't know what happened when she was 12, 13.
Wait, are we believing him?
no, he's lying. He's lying. I don't believe anything he's saying. I can't say where he went with her sexually when she was underage, but I don't believe that he made overtures of a sexual relationship previously. I 100% believe he was flirting and he was making sexual allusions beforehand. The shit you don't just.
I would say this.
Yeah.
I don't want to say sexual illusions at all. But the thing is, we're looking into behind his prism, and we don't know what that really looks like. So
Behind his what?
prism, like we know what
Yes.
from his standpoint. But the thing is, what we do know is that he's 18 years older. So when she was 0, he was 18. When she was 12, he was 30. So now the thing about it is this a 30-year-old man trying to make sexual overtures at this girl, or did he know their family? They all know each other. And he knew what he was trying to groom. So now he could know her. She could get used to him. She could like him. She could do all those type of things. But he's not trying to engage with her like that until she comes of
Yeah,
maturity.
but that's still really odd and agenda based.
And you know another thing about it, and I'll say this, you know how I think about most of
Messed up,
these,
excuse
how I
me.
think about most of this stuff, you know, this is something for us to chew. And the thing about it is, he wouldn't just jump out there. What does it serve him to do that?
It's
To
just
say that or
Yeah.
to do it?
To
All
say,
right, so
to say it or to do it and to put it out there. He could do it one way. He's been fine.
no. He didn't
to
put it out
mention
there. It got announced based on what he did. It
Well,
got
yeah, but-
announced and he just stood by it.
Yeah,
He
but the
did-
thing, but you have to understand, especially in this environment, you're keenly aware of these type of statements.
So do you think he's trying to promote a culture where it's okay
Is
to do
he
this?
trying to promote it, or
Do
we
you-
still in this
is that what you're
illusion
saying, though?
that we
Is
have
that what
this
you're
TV?
saying?
This is the new TV trying to say something to us and see where we. But you know,
I think it's weird that he feels like he can't dictate or control how a woman he's dealing with behaves unless she's just brand new, quote unquote. And what I mean brand new is in that younger age. I think, to be honest, I've dated older women, younger women, and whatever random age. I never thought personally, you know what? I want a girl that will listen to me just unconditionally. I want, because
that's
that's
something different.
You
that's what
thinking-
grooming is.
You
She
think
want-
that you thinking that this man is with her so that he can have her do and say whatever he wants?
I don't know. You're talking about a sexual fantasy. I'm just
No,
talking
I'm not
about.
talking about
no,
sex.
I'm talking
I'm
about
not talking
an unconditional, an unconditional, not forever, a deterrence, unconditional deterrence. In other words, like, no matter, like, he can, no matter what he says, no matter how ridiculous he is, that she can
to
turn
go
him-
over it.
Yeah, she'll go along that, and he's the reason why it would be advantageous of dating someone this young is because they'd be receptive to that kind of situation. Now, personally,
You're
now
saying brainwashing.
brainwashing is a. I want to differentiate because I think it's hedging your bets more than brainwashing. I think he's trying
You think
to.
it's a safer bet to be with a young girl?
No, he's
in
hedging.
being a public figure.
No, you're missing. No,
Okay,
his bet,
yeah.
the bet that he wants to win ultimately is a bet that I'm gonna get a woman who is not only at the appropriate time of their childbearing years. They're perfect. They're gonna listen to me. They've seen me in an elevated status since they were while they were like growing themselves. So whatever they see me as, they're gonna see me as something elevated and something special.
But that's
So
not supposed to be to her.
no, you're supposed to come in like that. I don't need a young girl to do that.
No,
Every girl, every woman, all right, listen. If I talk to a woman, I don't need a young woman. Listen, I date women that are disagreeable. I don't date women that are necessarily catering. So the women I date that are disagreeable, eventually they get to where I'm going or what I'm saying. Because what I'm saying is righteous. It's not because I'm dominating them. It's just because what I'm saying is honest and righteous. And they might fight against that. I'm not all right. Where's
that?
You said that
It's good,
right.
it's
I
good.
get what you said.
But that what I'm saying. If what I'm saying is honest and true, they're gonna naturally go along with it.
Where-
I don't need to get a young, incorrigible, easily influenced person in order to dictate that. Mark Houston, how would you need someone so young? And I don't even understand that. How would you need someone that young and incorrigible in order to get to where you're going? That means you personally don't have that much personal. You're not that righteous when you speak. You're not that confident. You're not that dignified. Because, I find more. I guess it's not that I find pleasure, but I find more satisfaction. I guess, in which I'm not saying something. If someone agrees to me, it's someone who wouldn't agree with me normally, rather than it's someone who. It's like
You like a sassy chick.
Yeah,
You like to be challenged, and then she bows down.
No, I don't want anybody to bow down. I don't want anybody
you're
to
always
bow.
right.
I don't want anybody to bow down, and I'm not always right.
No,
When I
okay.
said righteous, that was wrong.
No, it's all right. I'm messing with you.
It's not that I'm always. I don't feel that I'm always right, but I feel like I always
Let's
have a point that has to do with a genuine trajectory. In other words, I don't try to win. I just want to be honest.
I get it.
I don't want to win.
Let's see what the doc has to say.
Let's follow a logical series from what you're talking about. Right? That girl that has the opposing viewpoint. Why does she have that opposing viewpoint?
Why does she have that?
Yeah.
I would believe and I would hope that you okay, I can see where you're going with this.
Yeah.
You're trying to. I think what you're trying to say ultimately, she adopted that from someone else.
Yes. So why can't that original adoption? So who have the peace in their life?
Yeah, but
Who's gonna be more peaceful in their life? The guy that's able to find this person that hasn't been so influenced by everywhere else trying to pour her mind?
yeah, but
Or is it the one that comes in?
truth is the ultimate influence. I always
Yes.
believe that truth would set you free. So I believe if you're righteous and honest and genuine in what you're saying, I think that wins out rather than trying to dominate. In other words, I don't care if a girl listens to everything I say. No, listen.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if a girl listens to every single thing I say and appease me. I care if when I check her and I'm writing checking her because that's often. When I'm writing checking her, she understands that she was wrong.
This is what's going on. See, the idea of you leading and then following, I think you almost feel like it's a little bit more forceful. It doesn't need to be forceful at all. It could be completely.
I want to be forceful.
No. I think you view it as like, hey, listen, if he's doing that, I mean, he's manipulating. He's forcing.
No. He's doing layups. He's doing a layup drill. He's not trying to force her or push her in any way. He knows that she doesn't have to be pushed because she's incorrigible and she's malleable because she's so young. That he's doing the opposite.
So
I don't think that way. I think it's more genuine. I think it's more genuine. I get a woman who's her own soul and she interacts with me, and then she starts listening when I'm
Her
saying.
own soul.
What we have to recognize, is the fact that what we have to get is that this malleable person, is going to be mallenated, if not by
I don't know
you,
if that's right. I know that.
if not by you, then by society or something else that we've kind of like almost concluded that they're being dumped with complete nonsense.
No, but he's thinking that. I'm not thinking that. I don't think of women. I do think of women come to you with their own So all right. Well, this may sound sexist. I don't care. All right, whatever. So I believe a woman comes to you, colored. Say she's a piece of paper.
Right.
Every experience she has, she's a different paper. I think, and that's indicative of femininity. They're molded by their environment, so they move by their environment. So that's what makes them more compassionate and more sweet. They're more amenable to their environment. That's why they can listen to children who are pains in the asses, because they can understand. Anyway, with men, I think, especially with masculinity, I think not just a man thing. I think it's more of a masculine trait. They're principled. So the principle, it keeps them steadfast in the wind. Like women are like this when the wind blows. Men are like this. And this is sexist, but this is, well, forget men and women.
Traditionally,
it's
how it
masculinity, by definition, masculinity and femininity. Femininity is often changing and it's molding. That's why femininity works beautifully in art and in music, because it's often changing and it tugs at your emotion. That's why masculinity works great when it comes to principle, when it comes to things like religion, and when it comes to things building a country or a station, because part of it is, even though tides might change, you have to have specific principles in order to maintain it. And
Your analogy about her being paper, did you finish that analogy? Was that, I didn't catch that.
so the paper, when I say paper, I mean when the
different
wind,
colors?
no, not different colors. The wind makes the paper go like this. And what I think that's what
the man comes along to stabilize the blowing paper.
Forget men, women, masculinity versus femininity. And there's a lot of feminine men. There's masculine women. So what I'm saying is, masculine women has to do with you being able to being able to move with the principle, but not be molded with the principle. Does that make sense?
And the woman is more molded.
No, the
Femininity.
femininity in and of itself is based on not only the Zeitgeist and what the Zeitgeist is, the common culture and the current culture.
Here's my question to your analogy. Does the woman have a core to herself, or is she,
That's an interesting question. That's a good question. That's an excellent question.
Feminine from the start, and the paper that's flowing, the femininity, does it then change? Does it, in other words, we have a woman who's making $80,000 a year. She drives a BMW, and she's aggressive, and she's
a masculine woman.
A masculine woman.
That's how she was.
Did she start off feminine?
Listen, that's a tough. To be honest, I genuinely don't have an answer to that, because I believe, because this is what it's
You
hard.
you will when you have children. And let me say this to you: everyone is different, and there's only a handful that are naturally feminine. Let me give you an example, an anecdotal one, of course. I'm a married man, right? And one day we had a fight party at my house. Doc, you might have been there for this. And my wife, who's my girlfriend, we only been together like a year and a half, 2 years. She's living in the apartment with me. And I do a fight party. And underneath the plasma screen television that was there, I had a mattress, a California King mattress. And I had the mattress upholstered into this huge couch. I used, it was actual couch material. And I went to an upholsterer, and they upholstered the whole couch for me. Where you look at it, it looks like some amazing sofa, but it wasn't. It was actually just a California King mattress that was like 18 inches high that I had upholstered, and even the edges had a piped out edges. It was an amazing couch that I did. And right before the fight starts, LJ is on the couch. Everyone else is like standing up. They got their beers in their hand. She was like serving everyone, making sure everyone had what they had. I might even have people I hired to serve people there that day. I don't even remember. I think I might have hired a couple of people to serve the party and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So now she's laying on this couch looking up at the plasma screen television. And when the both men came out to fight, she grabbed the pillow and put it over her face. It was like, oh my God. And everybody's like, yeah. And the fight is just, everybody's going, yeah. And she's covering her face with this pillow. And my family member looks over at me, which is a woman, and she says, I see why you like her. And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, look how feminine she is. And I looked at her and I was like, well, that's not the only reason why I like her. And she was like, I know, but that's now she was like, now I get it. I get why you're into this woman, because how feminine she was. And let me tell you, this woman was raised by one of the most masculine women you'll ever meet in your life. Hardcore masculine woman who used to wear damn near look like jail outfits. Could have been mistaken for a lesbian at times from the outfits that the mom was wearing. Very aggressive, very masculine. 5'11", 190-pound woman, and always aggressive, always ready to fight. Riding through the hood with DMX playing. Where my dog's at. All aggressive. Always had a boyfriend that was like making a little bit of money or no money, bossed him around. The last boyfriend the mom had, she was giving him drug tests. And I was like, what kind of man just takes a drug test? Like, you're supposed to tell your woman, whoa, mind your business. I'm not taking no drug test. But all the men were very subservient men. So I'm just saying that to say that my wife was so feminine that she stood out in a crowd of hundreds of women. And she was 19 years old when I met her, and I was in my 30s when I met her. So I'm a 30-something-year-old man, and I meet a 19-year-old woman who I realized that she has so much potential and was so different despite what she has experienced through her life. And I'm wondering, did this man, Marcus Houston, travel the world, have 2 hit albums and 3 not-so-hit albums, and has a steady flow of income, acted, did all these things, met so many people? Why did he choose this one?
You know, I think you said something very interesting. I disagree, but he said something very interesting that I'll get into, and it solves the issue that exists, and it goes to what experiences that you had, the one that Marcus had, and I think it all has to do with the age. So now we're talking about you're in your 30s. I would assume most folks are going around the same age range. I think it all has to do with something you mentioned earlier. The feminine and the ability to remain feminine, and how feminine can you be. Has a lot to do with the environment that you're in. And the environment plays a role. And now the thing is, the role that the environment plays on you, say this is the kid who had a real tough father, but he kind of comes out as a punk. Or you have the other kid who had a real tough father, he comes out, really hard. But you also have a daughter who's around a mom who's very, very feminine. So she's feminine. You have another mom who, another kid, daughter who goes around a feminine woman, but she feels like, oh, that's kind of like whack, and she becomes very hardish.
Yeah, but we're asking if Marcus Houston is assuming that based on their age.
Let the doc finish his thought.
So the thing is, at this point, you have that piece of it that's laying the footwork of what's to happen, and now you have the experiences that come up. Until you get inundated in your environment, it's all kind of new. So, I would venture to say at that age, 19, she hasn't been to too many fights. And it's like, it's not that thing that's up in her face like that. But the thing about it is the pureness is still there. So the thing is, if she was being with other girls who like fights and stuff like that, and so on, at some point you get desensitized. No matter, even if you're feminine, but some of that pureness is still there. And guess what? At 12, at 14, you're probably more, less exposed.
So do you think
So
there's
I-
a point where that dies? It seems like you're saying there's a point in age where that dies and that you're no longer able to be receptive to masculinity or able to be led.
No,
That's
the
what it
thing
seems
is-
like
no,
you're
I'm not saying that. I'm saying it has a lot to do with your experience and your exposure. So you could have a 10-year-old girl who's completely hardened up by the experience of what she's been exposed to from the time she was 6.
Oh, all right,
And
yeah,
then
all
you
right,
can have
I agree
you
with
can have a
that.
woman
Yeah, I
who's
agree with
completely
that.
feminine
Yeah, I
up
agree.
until she's 30, depending on what she's been exposed to. You know, so
Can I say this?
you know,
I've thrown fight parties after that, and we've gone a lot of places. And let me tell you, she's still the girl who's gonna cover her eyes, and not the girl. She's still the woman.
no, but here's the thing. This is the key piece of it. It's what's being encouraged. So that's an attribute that's desirable. I like that in you. So I'm not in no way to rush that. But if you thought that was kind of like weak, like what kind of chicken? What you doing? She would change. Okay.
That's my point. That's my point. I agree
You
with
know.
you.
So the thing is, and at those ages, these things kind of happen. You kind of like you get a chance to do that, but that's
But she would change at any point. It shouldn't have to be that she's young, where she would be receptive to your influence.
No,
it should be
but
at
she's
any
fine.
age.
But here's the thing.
She'd receptive.
That's
If you're
fine.
truly masculine and you're truly righteous in what you're saying, it shouldn't. She shouldn't have to be 18 and incorrigible.
That's the
and listen. 18-year-olds get all right. Well, this is a terrible thing. 18-year-olds get into cults, like 30, like, and people in their late 30s start to get into religion and get into spirituality. That's my point. So when people are listening, when people are younger, any person who's charismatic or is confident can mold them or shape them, regardless of what they're saying or what they're doing is righteous. My point is that's why you should not, if what you're saying is righteous, you should not need to seek out a young person, green as grass woman in order to.
This is why I bring it home for you. What makes the difference is that it cannot be rewritten. It's a clean dress.
What the hell are you talking about?
Listen, it's a clean dress, and once you get mud on it, it's muddied. So the thing is, you're feminine. You don't go back to being feminine. So the minute if he was like, hey, listen, you need to harden what you're talking about, what's up with that? And she hardened herself up to that, she can't go back to being the girl that said, ooh, she can't be that person anymore.
But don't women change once they get from single to becoming a mother? And I can say that from your example, because from your examples, has there been a point in which they were, say, being a mother has changed the way they normally were, regardless of your influence?
Yeah, she's changed because I couldn't believe that she can be violent. You know, she beats them kids when they need it. It's always shocking to me.
You shouldn't have to be kids.
Yeah,
you shouldn't have to as a baby kid, but I'll say.
Wait.
You
You saying you shouldn't have to beat children?
No, you should only beat. You should. In my ideal.
Right.
In my ideal, I wouldn't have to be like. I would have to come in when they don't listen to the mother.
Of course.
That's my point.
Of
That's
course,
my
of
point.
course,
I shouldn't have to be in a point where I'm being the first one regulated. They should have took a beating from their mother.
Right.
And then
That's what she does.
I should be the ultimate. Be like, all right, now.
It's interesting enough that you're saying that, because before, the idea of the feminine, she wasn't even doing that.
No.
I'm gonna tell your father.
But that's not but that's indicative of your principles. So my principles, that wouldn't be natural. My principles that I would put in, because of what my principles are righteous and I believe they're honest and they can be defended, is that I shouldn't have to. You shouldn't have to look to me to regulate. You should look to me to regulate when they don't listen to you.
And
then that's my principles. That principles should came with my righteousness.
Can I
not
say-
with her youth. Not with her youth.
I don't want us to go too far left. Right.
the good thing about it, this is the role of you as the guy. This is your rule. This is the thing. This is what you stand for. And when you express that, there's somebody that's going to say, you know what, that sounds right, and I want to follow.
Exactly, and they shouldn't have to be 18 or 17 in order to
but guess
understand
what?
that.
They're
That's
better-
my point.
it's
That's my
better-
point against word usage.
They
That's
shouldn't
the
have to
ultimate
be-
point.
they shouldn't
That's
be-
my point.
They shouldn't be.
You shouldn't have to groom them for them to listen to you.
But it's okay.
You should be able to talk to grown women
Well, let me
in
tell
their
you this.
30s and
I
shut
have
them
not.
down. You shouldn't have to only be able to shut down young
But
women.
now they might come with alternative motive because they need somebody to, and all that other stuff, all the great things.
Oh, they all do need to.
might-
They all need to.
And-
They all need to do
And
that.
you may have a chameleon. That's the whole thing.
Well, I got
That's actually
I got pretty
interesting point.
lucky.
That's interesting.
Let me just say this to you. One of the main requirements to be with me was you had to be a good speller, because I can't spell, right? And she was a 4.0 average.
Spelling bee.
You know we're not sponsored, so this is what you get. You get a guy who has to urinate because those
He
Budweiser.
said he's not sponsored.
We're not
He said he's
sponsored.
working that.
So this is what you get, guys. If we were sponsored, what we would do is just switch cameras real quick, and I'll just start talking. You never even see him get up.
Because there's a little button, bathroom button, and it's like, okay, so that means the camera's
Yeah.
it pans.
Yeah, we will have 3 cameras running right now. We'll have the main camera, then one on me, one on the dock, and one on,
So next
Oh.
year when that happens, you know what happened.
yeah, oh, this year, not next year. This year. So, let me just say this for the record. I do not believe that Marcus Houston got himself a 12-year-old and had a relationship with her and then married her and put a baby in her. What I believe is that Marcus Houston is adding up the 5 years he's been with her, the 5 years she's been with her, and the 2 years the baby has been with them. So when you walk into a room of lawyers, or you walk into a room of tailors, you walk into a room of artists, you potentially are walking to a room with 100 years of experience. The doc and I might offer my 18 years of experience. We could arguably have 36 years of experience and 36 years of friendship here. So I think that it was a play on words. It's a way
Marcus, you should be.
I'm his
attorney.
PR. I'm his
Okay,
PR.
this is-
Yeah, I'm Marcus Houston's PR, because what we have
That's
to
a spin you
understand is
need.
that this is a culture of clout chasing. And Marcus Houston is clout chasing like we all are. And I would say that. And I don't know if I have to say it again. I don't want to mess it up because it came out great the first time I said it. So you're going to have to go back to hear my point on that. And it's something that I don't see a person. You see, when you see potential, us men, we're all humans, right? And we look at a person and we say, wow, we see the potential in that person. And we see a woman and she's beautiful and she's articulate and her back is straight and she's poised and she knows how to spell and she can get on the computer and she's like almost gonna be your personal assistant. And from very, very, very young, you can see that she's different. Like my wife, from very, very young, I saw that she was unlike all the other women that I was involved with. And I had a nice bench, when I met her, it was about 4 or 5 on the bench. I had nobody starting at the time. And I just think that I was able to see the potential in her. So much so that like Ulrich might like her to bring herself to the room. What I saw was nothing that I was gonna be able to mold, but I was going to be able to see that she would be great in the right experiences. So if we were moving in this direction, this would be a perfect person to have. And I started to think about that. I started to look at her and say, man, I'm in my 30s. At the time, I was making about 80 grand a year, doing very, very well for myself. And I didn't look at her as a young person that I could manipulate. I wasn't looking at somebody that I could mold. I was looking at her as somebody that I can grow with. I saw the potential of us growing together. And I really enjoyed that. And we spent 7 years together in a really cool, living in a high-rise building. I'm working in the bar business. She was actually doing some She was doing like server work or bartender work at a very cool spot. And, you know, she would party on the weekends with her friends, and it was cool. I was driving a Mercedes. Life was great. And then we grew up and was like, wait a minute. Like, she was like, I want kids. And, you know, we did that. It wasn't me molding some young woman to just be my servant and just, you know, be my seal, just clapping for me. And I think the big misconception is that this is what Marcus Houston is doing. He's molding and using this youth and molding her to this person that he's trying to make her be. And I don't think that.
Come on.
I just think that he sees such great potential because he's been around the world. He's been with amazing women. He's been with amazing go-getting women who are also feminine, who are masculine. He's seen, and let me tell you, there's a few that stand out. And I would think that, I think he did the right thing. He gave her a baby. He's being true to her. They're very religious. You know, these people are Jehovah's Witnesses. And, you know, I grew up as a Jehovah's Witness. I wouldn't recommend that to anyone. But
I agree he's doing the right thing. I agree that he's doing the right thing.
yeah. I just think that the whole thing, the 10 years that they've been together is just a play on time.
Bro, all right, listen, I work with a lot, personally, I work with a lot of 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds. And I work with a place that works with young men. It's a boys club, young men. But there's women who work there. The women who are 18 and 19 are like attractive women. But I have nothing in common with an 18 or 19.
I don't get that. What do you mean?
I got nothing. When I say common, I got nothing. I can't talk to her on the same level. I can't talk to her on a level.
That's not real.
When
What level?
You're missing my point.
I know your point. I think your point is rhetoric. And I say that
Rhetoric?
respectfully. Everyone says the same thing. We got nothing in common.
No, when I say common, I'm talking even my quips, even to understand that what I'm saying is sarcasm, takes certain maturity.
There's grown women that don't get sarcasm. They have to learn. No, I agree.
I agree with that. I agree with what you're saying. But I still think that I think you're saying. I see what you're saying with that. Marcus Houston saw potential, and she might have been precocious. She might have been more advanced than people her age. But I think, any man with any kind of sense would understand that she could be showing. I've met a lot of women who were very impressive when you met them, and very
What do you mean by impressive?
They're very calm, they're very casual, they're very mature, they had a certain maturity about them, they had a certain zest about them. But that wasn't their personalities. That's not to say that women aren't genuinely fake. I'm saying that I think the potential he saw in her was her precocious showing. And I think everything he saw in her was kind of shallow, and I think he hedged his bets on her being young and incorrigible, rather than her being advanced beyond her years. Because listen, anybody can sound smart. It's when they're in not in situations. Put them in a situation where they can explain the situation. So a woman can sound extremely mature and be young and sound really. I guess they know they can almost speak in your dialect as an older.
Let me say this. There were times when we were together, and I would come home and I would hear her and her friends laughing so hard, and I would tell her when I was around her, like, not for nothing, I don't ever hear you laugh like that when it's just us. And she was like,
exactly.
let me tell you this. And she would say to me, she was like, oh, that's because I want to sound more mature when I'm around you. I don't want you to think I'm some young dummy. I'm like, what?
So what's the point? So what does that mean?
Mind you, listen to me carefully. Mind you, she was honest and able to talk like that. A person who's controlling a woman Everyone has insecurities. The 37-year-old woman is gonna feel like she has to talk to you. The doctor said he don't even tell a woman that he's a doctor because automatically she's gonna start thinking, "Oh man, I'm not smart enough to be around this guy."
See, I'm shocked that he has that insecurity because that means
he doesn't have that insecurity. This is their insecurity.
No. You're perceiving an insecurity.
They're verbalizing.
You're assuming that you telling them a doctor would elicit a certain kind of behavior. So that's an insecurity.
No.
I'm insecure too. It's not just him. I'm insecure about stuff.
I'm saying he's experiencing it.
I experience, but some of my behavior is based on my insecurities. His behavior is based on insecurities about how they would act. I act that way.
Let me push back. Let me tell you. I want to explain my pushback to you first.
Hit me.
Let me get my thought out. All right. My pushback is that when you choose these type of women that are younger than you, and I'm not talking about the 12-year-old. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the woman who is legally of age, who shows the highest potential amongst her peers.
They might as well be 12.
No. You see, that's what I'm trying to tell you.
They're good imitators. They're not mature. They have no indication to be mature. They're imitators. They know how to imitate.
I say
maturity.
The 37-year-old woman.
Maturity, bro.
The 37-year-old woman is more of an imitator than the 17, 18-year-old woman. The 17.
Wow, that's
yes.
interesting.
Oh yes,
Really?
the 20. Yes, the 37-year-old woman is the chameleon
So
in the
you
room.
knows how to
The
write
37-year-old woman is the chameleon in the
So-
room
so what
that
you're saying-
knows so that not only adjust down there for wherever she's encountering,
So
she
let's
needs
take
to
a hard
adjust
stance.
this conversation.
Let's take a hard
however.
stance. Let's take a hard stance.
Yes.
Are you saying women are naturally imitators?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that a
So the woman is a
37-year-old woman.
37-year-old.
Your argument can apply to
I'm
a woman.
differentiating age. I'm differentiating age and maturity. You're different, but you're saying the age has nothing to do with the maturity. I'm making the age differentiation and making his confidence, Marcus Houston's confidence, is based on the age of that woman, and that's what I'm coming at.
His confidence?
His confidence in thinking that she.
Are you kidding
I'm gonna
me?
say something.
His confidence in thinking that she's going to be the same, and part of his confidence in her being the same.
We don't want
is
the
'cause
person to
she's
be the
young.
same. My wife has grown to be this amazing person who's listening to
Yeah, but
our politics.
Yeah, but that's part of Marcus
politics
Houston's
are
immaturity. That's part of Marcus Houston's immaturity. He thinks that she's so precocious at this age. She can be chosen, and she's ready. Not that she's gonna change.
He's gonna let her be all she can be.
No, she's not. No,
Yes, he
she's not.
is. Are you kidding
Let
me?
me say
The
this.
reason why he loves her is that she's so subservient and she's
No.
so reverent. She's so you don't
He
think
can
he
get
loves
that. You
You
can-
don't think he likes her because she's reverent?
Dude, let me say this to you. I used to get a girl that used to walk through the damn blizzards every day.
I know
to top
age-
me
I
off.
agree- I agree.
Okay?
Age is a-
I've had women, no exaggeration,
older, who
walk
are-
through
who
the
are
rain,
older, who are
sleet, and
subservient.
snow to get to. You've experienced this too. I'm sure you've experienced this. I could get a woman to be super submissive to the point where she wants me to be her dom.
Yeah, but what the reason why Marcus Houston is so confident about it is because of her age.
No.
That's why he's so. That's
No.
why.
Let me say this first.
No.
Let me say this first. I must say that I don't condone to grown men messing with underage women. So let me just
Exactly.
say that.
We don't condone
Yeah,
that.
we
I
don't
don't
get
that
it,
whatsoever. But I will say the idea of age of maturity is a construct that we created.
I agree. I agree with you.
So, it's not to say, well, 19, they're completely mature and they're good, and at 16, they're horrible or whatever like that. That's a different thing. But what we need to pull away from it is that whether it's 19 or 16, the ability of what you're going to get from those folks has a lot to do with what they've been exposed to. And the thing about it is, prior to that imaginary age, the chance of them being exposed to something horrible
That
is less.
contradicts your points.
No. What I'm saying is the chance of them being exposed to something horrible is less. And as a result, they don't have that experience to come and combat you with that. You don't have to ever undo, or they don't have to undo in themselves in seeing the value in your point. So in other words, it's less strife for you.
The respect is what
Also-
their respect for you is what shows what displays their value in your point,
Yeah.
whatever you're making, whatever age. But what I believe the distinction I'm making is with Marcus Houston. I think he personally believes that he's known this woman since she was a young age. I think I'm talking about from Marcus Houston's perspective. I believe he thinks that this is a perfect woman to move forward with and the perfect woman to mold. I think based on him knowing her from so young and thinking that moving this forward with her, even though as a grown man you have to know that she's going to develop and change. But he has a confidence that says that even that she's so young and I've seen her since so young that she's perfect right now. So his image, I don't want to I don't know what the outcome is going to be with him choosing her, but I think him choosing her and being this forward with her based on the consequences is based on his immaturity and his belief that he thinks that it's gonna that she's so young and he knew from she's young she's always gonna be this way. I'm speaking to his immaturity.
Let's think of Ulrich for a second, who is let's say 50. And you happen to now have a daughter who's 14. And there's this young man that you saw about now starting to make his way. He's a teenager now. You got a chance to know him? He gets to about 30.
Okay.
And now your child is 14. Now, but you've known him to move a certain type of way. That he's a good kid and so on and so forth or whatever.
If you think I'm allowing my
No, let the dog finish. Let him finish.
Because what I would say is, if he actually had a relationship with her when she was 12, the parents are completely involved. And the fact that the Jehovah's Witness, that they are aware of this going on. And guess what? I'm a parent and I have my 12-year-old and I have this guy who I think I've seen raised to the church and believe, in what he understands life to be. Do I say, don't mess with my kid at all? Or if I'm there and I'm involved in it and stuff like that and can watch it mature to what it has matured, I think everybody won. If that actually occurred. I don't know.
Boom.
But how do you think R. Kelly portrayed himself towards you?
Well, he's pissing on chicks.
No. We didn't know that. No. We did not. We didn't know that when these parents were allowing him to do these things. We didn't know these things. These came out after the fact.
Well, we don't know how. I don't want to say that name anymore.
All right, we don't know how the artist formerly known as.
Yeah, no.
The artist, whatever.
No. But let's change to a different point as far as that name.
Well, I won't mention his name, but the point I'm making is that none of this stuff was clear, and I'm sure I'm sure that Marcus Houston put his best foot forward as far as the family. I'm sure he made him give him all the confidence because he's a charming, charismatic, famous person who people pay money to see him do things. So I'm sure he was charismatic when he was talking to the parents. So I don't think no matter what he portrayed as, I'm a church man, I believe I'm this or that, I have money to support her.
So in this situation,
well, you're not a father. The analogy.
I'm thinking as a father. I'm trying to think of it as a father.
But who's the prize?
I'm thinking as a
Who's
father.
the prize? Is it Marcus Houston or is it the daughter? Who's
The daughter.
prize? Who's selling who here?
The daughter's the
parents,
prize.
Do you think he's trying to convince the parents, or do you think the parents are trying to convince him?
Well,
It's okay.
Okay, you're okay. What you're arguing that the parents were aware of his intentions and therefore it's okay. I'm talking about the argument I'm making is Marcus Houston had particular intentions based on her age. That's what I'm saying. And his intentions were to groom her.
Yes.
I think his intention.
Yeah, I know. We know that.
I'm saying there's an issue with that intention.
Dude,
because not only is it logical.
It's easy to get a chick that wants to be groomed. And she's usually 26
I
years old.
don't disagree with that.
Listen,
It's easy to
she's
get
26
groomed.
years old, damaged as F,
Still gonna be groomed.
and wants to be groomed. Let me
Damage
say
is
this.
indicative of grooming. Damage.
Let me say this.
Leads
Hold
to
on for
grooming.
1
Not
second.
that. All right.
All right, let me talk. Respectfully, listen to this. I have a daughter. My daughter is 10 years old. And if my daughter, at the age of 17, 18 years old, meets a guy in his 30s who is making the money I was making, living the life that I was living, because at the time I had a tie company I wanted to launch. I had a clothing company I wanted to launch, and I was managing a bar, doing really well. I had a vehicle, and I lived in the same place and had the same telephone number for over 10 years. I would be very into my daughter being with this man. And
If
that's
she's
the way-
18-year-old, it's none of my business.
No, even
if she's 12, it's my business.
Not,
if
not
she's
12,
it's my business.
we're not talking 12, we're talking legal.
We're talking
No, we're not talking 12. The document
Once-
talking
we're talking about
12.
once she's
We're
legal,
against anything.
Once she's legal, once she's 18, that's none of my business.
See, no,
It's
No,
none
no,
of
no,
my
no,
business.
I'm not talking about that. But let me tell you this. I would
We're
actually.
talking about what Marcus
let me
Houston
say
did,
this.
and it started at 12.
I
That's the
would,
only reason I have the age 12 is because you mentioned the 12
I
age.
would champion it. I would encourage it. I would encourage my 17, 18-year-old daughter to be with the richest man on the block
I
who
wouldn't
is
do that.
about something,
I would say
who's
this-
looking for a family.
This dude is going to
who's-
cheat on you.
Cheating is nothing. That's nothing to do with it.
Yeah, but I don't care about cheating unless it's my daughter. I don't care. I only care about cheating if it's
Listen,
my daughter.
Listen.
I don't care about
All
cheating.
men, all
My
men
friends
are
cheat.
gonna exhaust options. There's no such thing as a man
Yeah, but
that's
if
not
it's my
exhausting
daughter, I
options.
think of it differently because it's my
No,
daughter.
if I have a guy here that's going to provide for my daughter, who wants a family, is going to look at, because look at my wife. I saw her. She's a tall woman, okay, very tall woman, very statuesque. And I said to myself, my children are going to be very tall. So now I have a 10-year-old that's very, very tall. So like I told my 10-year-old, I said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get you in volleyball and put you in a volleyball situation, and I want her to understand that when you join volleyball and you get a volleyball team, when you're in a volleyball team, even semi-pro and pro, you're not in a volleyball team for money. You're not going to make any money. The top volleyball professionals are making like $3,000 a month. Top volleyball people make about $3,000 a month. So your job will be to find the people that are going to come see you. Because my daughter's going to be over 6 feet tall. Her mother's over 6 feet tall.
Yeah.
So my daughter is going to be over 6 feet tall. So I want to position my daughter to be in a room where the men in the room are looking and attracted to tall women. So that she's not going to have to go through different life experiences that are going to leave her angry about men and feeling like most men don't like tall women. Most men don't want women that are 6'4", and when they wear heels, they're 6'8". Even if the man, like me, I'm 6'1.5", 6'2". The men don't want a woman who's towering over them. I, on the other hand, love that model look. I love the skinny, tall chick. I love that. So my daughter, I have to make sure I put her in a place where the men that are there are going to be attracted to tall women. Now we have to make sure that she's around the highest earners.
I have no.
And I will have no problem with my 17, 18-year-old volleyball champion daughter to be hooked up and linked up with a person who's in their 30s. I wouldn't have a problem with that. I would think that, to me, makes more. I don't want her with a guy in his 20s trying to figure out his life. All they're gonna do is just have fun.
Yeah, but I'm as that guy who you wouldn't want to date their daughter in your 20s. I'm that guy that you didn't want dating your daughter in your 20s, and from that experience, I don't want my daughter to date guys that were like me, and any guy that can talk, they can speak, and has any gab. No, it doesn't matter where they're at in life. They're gonna be able to convince some woman. They're gonna be able to convince a woman that they have some kind of value, regardless of their status.
Well, I'm gonna be there.
I have to be real. I have to be real.
I'm there to set the tone.
Yeah. No,
I'm there to set the tone.
I agree.
Like if my children want to go to college, their job is not to get a degree. Their job is to be friends with the richest person there.
Yeah, but this is why
their job is to find these people that have certain first of all, my children right now cannot be friends with a single mother's child.
Yeah, but that might not.
My
We
friend,
don't know if that's gonna change them.
Yeah, well, you know what? I'm training the brain now for them to understand that there's a difference between a man who's raised by a single mother and there's a difference between a man who's raised by a mother and a father.
All right. Listen, I was raised to do the exact opposite of everything I probably do today, and I was raised adamantly about it. Even when it came to the kind of women I date, I was raised adamantly against doing all those things.
Yeah, but you was done. But that was by your mom.
Yes, that's the big difference.
Your mother raised you. She was a single mother. Respectfully, your mother raised you.
Yeah,
and
I do agree. You don't respect the mom.
If you had a father and he's like this, son, let me tell you something, man. See that right there? That ain't the one for you. You see that right there? That's where you need to be moving.
Yeah, but
That
daughters,
direction.
especially now with the daughters can be defiant.
No.
Women, you should have. All right.
They define with
My
their
daughter
mother,
was my daughter.
with their moms.
Your daughter don't talk back to you.
No, my daughter does not talk back to me. She's never talked back to me. My son has only talked back to me one time.
I never see your son.
My son has said.
I see your daughter.
My son has said.
I've never
horrible
seen him even look
things
at
to me.
I've never seen
Horrible
your
things
son
to
look
me.
at you wrong. I've never seen your son.
No, that's not true. But my son has said horrible things to me.
But observation. But your daughter seems like, and daughters are like they have a sassiness. And your daughter is sassy. That doesn't mean I never seen her disrespect you.
Never.
But what I'm saying is,
My daughter's only lied to me once. My son has lied to me over 50 times.
Well, see, all right. So,
My daughter's only lied to me one time. My son has lied to me 50 times.
Yeah, then I can't speak.
For no reason. I'm like,
can't
yo.
speak to that.
I told my son, I said, yo, son, look at your father. I'm the dude who's, look at the business that I'm in. I'm the guy you're supposed to be able to talk to. You're supposed to be able to holler at me. You know, my son was the kid who done things that I have no idea what is he doing. It's just so bizarre. I'm like, son, you can trust me. You can talk to me. So I understand there are kids that are not going to listen. But I am telling you now, my daughter's going to be 6'1", 6'2", and I'm not having her around a bunch of short, broke niggas. She's going to be around a bunch of rich, tall people that are attracted to that look.
I'd rather have it not be that sexual at all, man. I'd rather have an awkward, nerdy daughter.
Why? My daughter, let me just tell you something, man. My daughter,
it's different.
A woman could be with her husband and be the freakiest freaking person with the husband. She ain't got to experience all these different kind of men to express herself that way. You could get this from one person. One person can satisfy a relationship. She don't need to have a high body count.
This is not sound sexist again, but the win thing. I think men can go to war and be kind of solid and appropriate, like in a certain way. And there's men to go to PTSD, men who do horrible things out of their response to war and what they experience. But I feel like certain women. The same trauma, I feel like they fly off into rails. You know what I'm saying?
That's because of the father. I told this to a young man recently that where my dispensary is parked, this young man who works, he's like one of the top chefs in this place. Yeah. And I saw him walking with a sad face, and I was like, yo, you okay? What happened? They're not paying you enough? Because, you know, my thought was like, you know, you're only sad when you're 25 years old. You're not getting enough money, you know? And he's like 28 maybe, or 27. And he said, no, my mom just died last month. And I was like, oh, man. I didn't even know how to, you know, I was like, whoa. So I actually said, I was actually live on the block with Jen. And I was parking my trailer from one side of the street to the other because they wanted me to park in front of certain businesses in Red Hook want me to park in front of their business, so we could be like, look at the cannabis dispensary in front of my business. I'm so cool, and we're all so cool, and the solidarity stuff, right? So I actually stopped what I was doing, got off of I was still on the live. All you can see is just my empty car on the live, and I stopped and I talked to this man and I said, listen, you gotta understand it's gonna take time. It's the only thing that's gonna change this. And I says, and don't allow this experience to anchor you and define who you are. Because when they threw David in the lion's den, and David never came out of the lion's den and said, yo, hey, yo, son, they did me dirty.
Biblical?
They did me dirty. I always get biblical. I know your book very well. I know your book. I know your book, Owen. So I told him, I said, when David came out of that lion's den, David wasn't like, yo, they threw me in the lion's den, son. They tried to kill me, bro. They tried to kill me, tried to do me dirty. No, David came out of the lion's den and became king.
Well, actually, that's my favorite Bible
Okay?
book, David of Seven
David came out of the lion's den and became king. Let's not forget, he was
grimy. Do you know what the point of that was?
No, I know the point of that.
The point of that, no matter what you go, that's a bootstrap sentiment. That no matter what this guy was a slave and saved by his family, and he became a king based on his own merit and his own intrinsic value.
Listen to me.
Your soul determines you.
Listen to me. He never allowed himself to be anchored in his conflict.
That's because he had the soul for that.
And this is why a father is so necessary. A father is the one that you turn to stop what is anchoring you and keeping you in a place of sad, depression, boredom. It's your father is the one that comes to you and says, yo, I got you. This is maybe another option for you to try out. Let's move into this direction. And a father teaches you from very young never to be anchored in the pain. You grab the pain and you become king with that pain. And that's what I taught that young man. I told that young man, I told that young man, I said, let me tell you something about my mother. You guys know my mom and I, we always had a lot of problems, It was a very hot, tumultuous relationship. And I still think about my mother very often, especially now as I've gotten older. I think about her more than ever. And I know that she's always with me. So I said, if my mother, as horrible as she was to me, is always with me, then your mother, if she was any good, she's always going to be with you. And there's only time that's going to take to heal these wounds. But do not turn these wounds and do not turn how you're feeling into something that holds you down. You lift yourself up from this. So, I use your book to help out with that,
See, I'm glad you get receptive to it.
Dude, I read the whole book a couple of times, so I know the book.
I can't even say I did all of that.
I read the book from the front to the back, and then from the middle to the front, and the middle to the back.
If he did that, I'd be extremely impressed.
No, I did that. I did all that stuff. When I was a kid, I used to knock on people's doors, bro.
You were Jehovah's Witness?
I was Jehovah's Witness, man. I used to knock on people's doors, and I used to look them in the eye. And let me tell you, being a Jehovah's Witness is a great experience for me because I knew how to look the white man in the eye. Okay, because my whole church was full of nothing but these ministry people that they never lived in the hood where I lived in. They were coming through the trains, and this place it was a place called Bethel. It was their main hub, and the Bethel would give a person. They were coming from another country, and they would stay and they would work at Bethel for 2 years, and they would be given a place to go. So they would be like, all right, I guess I'm going to be in Brooklyn on this day and these times, and they would be there for 2 years with us. So I was able to do that. So now I'm growing up, young guy coming up in the streets. I knew how to look people in the eye and have a conversation with them. I was different. And that's what a father does too. A father teaches the kid to
But you didn't have your dad. I didn't have my dad, and I feel like we both. None of us. You
no,
didn't grow up with your dad.
Not his dad. His dad was a single father.
All right. Well,
not a single father. He had a stepmom.
But I feel like we still were able to gauge our own opinions. We were just lucky, and I don't think.
No, I wasn't lucky. I suffered from not having a father involved in my life until I was an adult. That wasn't good. That was horrible. I suffered tremendously. I had to doubt myself. I always thought people were trying to play me. I always thought I had to prove myself. You know how many scars I got? I've been shot. I've been stabbed. I've been cut. Look at this big cut on my forehead. Look at this big slice here. Look at this right here from me blocking the knife from coming at my face. All that stuff is because I thought I had something to prove. I needed a father to tell me, son, you perfect. You ain't got to prove nothing to these idiots.
That's some real stuff, man.
I've been through a lot, but I don't let it anchor me. I'm going to be king. I'm not going to do no sucker shit like David did and put that girl's husband out there in the front lines to get killed so he can smash. I won't be doing that.
No man is a king. Man is a man.
Okay.
Only little people need to show themselves to be king. Because no matter.
Well, don't go move to Harlem. Because they're gonna be loving you and king you to death. You know the title. Let me just change this. Let me just go back to the title. The title on this title of this show, it talks about Elijah Muhammad, Karl Malone, Elvis Presley, and Marcus Houston.
I guess something to say about all those people.
Yeah, well, it has to do with the fact that they were married to, well, not Karl Malone.
No,
Karl
Karl Malone's
Malone.
next level. Karl Malone's next level.
Karl Malone just put the baby in the girl and was like, whatever.
Yes, when he was over.
What's this?
Karl Malone like got with the I think the youngest girl, I believe, and the don't.
Is it pattern?
Yeah, multiple women who were underage when he was older, when he was not in the NBA.
After he's done the NBA?
No, not
before,
NBA, but
before.
he was still at over the age of the age where if you were to have sexual relations, you'd be in the age of you would be
Yeah, between
committing a crime.
12 and 15 years
Yeah,
old.
yeah.
He
So he
impregnated
had
a couple of women.
multiple women under those ages when he was of age. I don't know if it was 18, 19, because I don't know.
I think it was like 20. I think it was even 20. Yeah,
He was
yeah.
in the NBA, so he was in the NBA.
Not yet.
He wasn't in,
Not
but
yet.
he still committed a crime.
Yeah,
No one knows about that with Karl Malone. That's a secret. That's an NBA secret to everybody.
But we have to do, this is the thing, and also the title talks about, is this evil or normal? You know, we have the prophet Elijah Muhammad taking on 7 wives. And I think 3 of those 7
He's
wives
wrong. He's
were
wrong.
under the age of 14 years old.
Gandhi is wrong. Gandhi wanted to test his commitment to his faith by having naked women sleep next to him. Like Gandhi, like these people did really odd things. So I'm right or wrong. I know my principle.
Wait, is something wrong with having naked women laying next to you? You don't touch them to test yourself?
Come on.
I mean, Lil Wayne
Come
is
on, man.
is skateboarding and they got naked girls all around them.
Come on, man. Come on.
So you shouldn't do that. Is this your book again? You bring it up right now, or this
No,
is-
no. In fact, the Bible's more okay with kind of these kind of vague age. Even the Quran, the Muhammad was married to this much older woman when he was underage. Well, I don't want to mess with it. He was close to underage. But the point is, I'm not saying this from a biblical or religious state. I just think young women are so simplistic and incorrigible and dopey and malleable to the point that maybe I'm taking a different perspective in order to match where I am principally, but like I think personally I would feel like I should be able to if what I'm saying is principled and correct and real. I feel like you can be from 21 to 37 and you should be receptive even 18 to 37, you should be receptive to what I'm saying, because what I'm saying has a certain thing that's tethered to something real that wouldn't just play on your not, I don't want to say insecurities, but that wouldn't just play on your delusions of grandeur and think that you're better than people, because that's where a lot of cults you hear lying that prey upon these like young underage people, and the people that say lower the voting age, the people that the people that wanted to lower the voting age.
I like that. Lower
18 to
the
16.
voting age.
There's a reason that people want to do that. They want to what's the word?
Purity?
No, purity has nothing to do with it. It's more they want to leverage their ideas, because their ideas are it's easier to place ideas that are disadvantageous to an individual when you're younger than when you're older, because you won't understand. That's why I don't want to get political, but this is why a lot of younger people are kind of move towards the left and move about the stuff that has to do with higher taxes and stuff like that, because they think it doesn't. They don't understand the effect it has on them because they're young, because they don't have to deal with it.
Well,
When they have to deal with all those things, and that's when they start to see. That's when they start to see the cuts on them. That's when they start to see the marks on them, and that's when they're better able to see. The same thing with Marcus Houston. when they're with an older dude, especially a dude who's being successful like Marcus Houston, they say, "Oh, he got it made. Look at me. I'm eating dinner at a nice place every night. All I know is that this older person is providing me with something positive on a daily or weekly basis."
Stop it already.
You don't think they think that simplistically? Younger people think
I'm
that
sure he's sitting
simplistically?
there doing nothing in a quiet space, and she's sitting. Me and my wife go for rides just because, and we don't say anything.
No,
We just go. Our
saying-
being next to each other. I'm sure you've been around a woman that you don't even have to talk, and it's just the vibe and the energy, the frequency. You're just on it.
I've never been in love with a woman who I would be in a ride with and would not talk to during a ride. Part of what makes me fall in love with somebody is their ability to engage and genuinely.
Yeah, well, I'm talking about. I'm not talking about we together 2.5 hours and no one said anything. I'm not saying that. I'm saying.
I mean, 2.5 hours. I can't. I would. There's no way I could. If someone is that quiet, there's no way I would be able to love them.
Better said.
I can't love them if they're that quiet.
No,
I can't.
you know what?
Is that weird?
It's back. I think you know what?
I think I love him more.
No, I need to be able to tell them to shut up. Not they'd have. I don't want them to know they have to shut up. I want them to be able to say, "All right, woman, calm down." If they're just,
I think it's better said that. Being okay being next to the person without saying, being comfortable being next to the person,
right.
not feeling like you have to talk about something because if you don't talk about something is wrong.
Right.
It's being
I'm only that comfortable by myself.
You know, and it starts with that. It starts with imagine getting to the point where you're that comfortable with a young woman.
No, it's not that I'm uncomfortable. It's just that it's been 2.5 hours. What do you want?
Well, no, I'm talking
Are you
about that.
No, I'm saying that it's not 2.5 hours. It's only 10 minutes.
You didn't have
There's a
spark-
10 minutes of silence where I don't have to worry.
10 minutes is different than 2 hours.
Yeah, no,
10
but
minutes
I
is
wasn't.
different.
You see, you didn't hear my point. I was making. I'm saying it's not a 2.5 hour ride where nothing is being said. It's a ride, and in that ride, there are times when there's just never an uncomfortable silence. It's always a beautiful silence.
Yeah, I agree
It's
with that within
always-
10 minutes. I agree with that
love
within 10
beautiful
minutes.
silence.
Beautiful
I love-
10
silence.
minutes.
Are
Within
nice.
an
I don't
hour,
wanna
an
look-
hour of not talking, that's weird.
I don't want to look at my woman and she ain't said nothing in 15 minutes and I'm like, what's wrong? No, I don't do that. I'm like, we just vibing. We just having a good time. Let me tell you something about me, and I can only speak for myself, I guess, you know. I met a beautiful young woman who turned into an amazing mother, and the whole time, she has not become this thing that I wanted her to be. Because let me tell you, there's a bunch of shit that I would love for her to do and be, and it ain't there. And we ain't there yet. You know, we ain't there. There's problems, bro. I'm not living on a cloud, floating, talking about how great this young woman has been in my life. There are times where I might say to myself, I don't know if I'm coming back home tonight.
I know you've been real. I see that's what
I'm not coming back home. I'm so pissed off. And then I calm down. I take it on the chin and I come home. And we work it out. But I'm not promoting this youth. I'm just promoting that she stood out in a crowd of hundreds. She stood out when I had a full bench. Okay? She passed all my tests.
He had support.
I had a bunch of
from
tests
his
for women
parents.
too.
He had parental support. Part of the indicators of positive parental support, which I believe he had with this woman. I think
Right,
she was
yes.
beautiful. She was young and beautiful, and she was also everything. When he talked, it sounded like what he said mattered. Trust me, that fooled me into falling in love before too. You understand? I don't think it's in. I don't know.
Now here's the question before we go. Is it evil or is it normal?
It is absolutely normal. Now the thing about it is we have to understand the source of evil is always lurking around. Anything good could be made turned into, anything good could be turned into evil. And you talk about the ages and things like that, and the source of manipulating and all those type of things. That is there and it exists, but it could only exist and take foothold because somebody before didn't do their job.
Boom.
You know.
Ulrich, is it evil or is it normal?
Now, I disagree with the sentiment that it's evil, or I don't think it's normal.
Is Marcus Houston evil?
I don't think he's evil at all. I think he's a little juvenile, in which I think he believes that that he believes that this is the perfect woman to get, and I put part of being juvenile, being young, is based on projections. And I think,
He knows that she's not the perfect woman. He's been with enough women to know that there is no such thing as a perfect woman.
I don't think he knows that, because I think part of the reason he assumed that this was a perfect woman is because how she conducted herself from 12.
He doesn't. No man thinks a woman is perfect. We're not done. We know that there's no perfect woman.
I don't know that. I think he genuinely has an ideal, and he thinks this. I genuinely think.
Evil or normal?
I think he thinks it's. I don't think it's evil at all. I think I think it's abnormal, but I think he believes it's normal because she checked certain boxes, and he thinks these boxes are indicative of her just being unique from the pack when she's just young and incorrigible. I don't think she's any unique from any pack. I think she's as malleable as any 18-year-old.
I say normal. I say there are hundreds of men, celebrities, politicians, that see someone young, see that potential, that person stands out, and they want to put a bid in, and they want to make sure that they're in that person around their life. And they
not evil, juvenile. It's juvenile.
I'll even go a step further to say this: you're convinced that's that is abnormal, and you should be doing something a little bit more different. Where you're 25, they're 25, you're 35, they're 35. Meanwhile, the folks that who are the folks that kind of try to tell you what to do and to try to run things, they're doing the opposite. They're the ones that have this young person. They're the ones that have these type of lives and stuff like that.
I don't.
So,
it's hidden.
I don't.
It's hidden. It's hidden.
I don't disagree with that sentiment. I think this is Marcus Houston's situation is more common than we think, but I think it's not indicative of understanding of. I think it's more indicative of an almost juvenile sentiment that says that since she's young. I got her young. I got her. She's moldable. Therefore, she's not. I think it's presuming that she's not going to switch up in a few years.
I think it's propaganda
I think he's presuming she's not going to switch up. I think Marcus Houston specifically is hedging his bets on. Wow, she's so angelic. She sees me in this reverent. Every time she sees me, she's so sweet and reverent to me. Oh, it has nothing to do with me being famous. That's probably the furthest from the truth. It has nothing to do with me being famous. That's probably the furthest from the truth. I think he sees her. She sees him in a particular way. He sees her in a particular way. I think neither of those are genuine. That's what I think. That's what I think about Marcus Houston and his
a while ago, I came up with this thing.
I think they both see him in disingenuous ways.
A while ago, I came up with this thing, and it's not really a hard and fast rule, but it's this idea of concrete, pen and pencil. And you'll say from 0 to 10 is concrete. So that means whatever's inputted into that person is almost like chiseled into concrete, so it's there written for all time. And on their person.
Say nature versus nurture.
Okay. From 10 to 20, it's like something you're writing in pen. And by the time they get past 20, it's in pencil. It's very easy to erase and rewrite But the thing is, when they portray that to you, that's also at those particular time in their lives.
To say that one portrays assumes that they're putting on a specific, rather than they're experiencing. To say that they're portrays assumes that they're putting on an.
So put it like this: the young woman that loves you when she's 26, she could convince you at all outdoors that she loves you to death.
Yes.
Okay? She breaks up with you. A month later, she has a brand new guy and she's in love again.
But her convincing you doesn't mean she's lying.
No.
That just means she's fickle. That doesn't mean she's lying about that she loves you.
No, that's fine. But that's what I'm talking about. And when it's written in pencil, it's really written there. But it's in pencil, you can easily erase it.
Right.
But in pen, between 10 and 20, it's a little bit different.
It's completely unclear about what can be said about what's written in pencil and what's in pen. What's contrived and what's completely genuine.
So what I'm trying to say
there's no way you can discern those things outside of experience.
What I'm trying to say to you is, the love that you get from a 25-year-old, although real, versus the love that you get from a 15-year-old, although real, and the love that you get from a toddler, although real. When you see those loves, it's one that's associated with we'll say with the parent because it's toddler and stuff like that, versus the 15 with the teenage love, versus the 25. Which one moves off of which easier? So that's the implant there. So on the pencil, yeah, they really love you, but it can erase you and put somebody else's name there very easily. You know, that teenage love, you almost always remember that.
Okay, well, women. All right, this is the
You know,
women are
so-
women are malleable into their
With that.
40s. that's it.
No.
That's the difference.
could always
I know
switch.
that's sexist. That's a little sexist, but women are malleable into. So you're talking about different
We're
loves
not talking
and
about
how genuine those loves
Yes.
are, because you're talking
How
about different
solid
people's
it is
lives.
and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
but those solid love, with
So
women,
it's easier to switch.
with women, at a teenage level, fickle. And I'm talking about experience dating 20s and 30s women, not necessarily dating teenagers. But 20s and 30s women, that love can be all in the. You can think they're in love with you, and they can. And this is not me speaking from a place of hurt.
Which one?
Unless I see a smirk. This is not me speaking from a place of hurt. But I'm saying,
Talk about it.
I'm Big
You get what
Elvis
I'm
to
saying?
Chef Rosenberg.
It's about that time.
He's,
or
and there's,
I'm not Dr. Surgeon.
this is going on too long.
No, I agree.
I appreciate the gentlemen here and their perspectives, their objective perspectives. We've answered most of the questions. And if you got any value out of this, what I need you to do is hit the Cash App. That's $ Elvis Rosenberg, or the Venmo, and that's at Elvis Rosenberg.
Well,
good host.
Let me just quickly go through. Bless you.
Bless you.
thank you. Oh,
T-Rilla, again, thank you.
that's good.
Robin, thank you. Dane, one off the block, thank you. LJ, thank you. Conway, one, thank you. T-Rilla said that Marcus Houston is just living his life.
You really don't know.
He wanted a woman that wasn't ran through.
That's, well, they less ran through at 12, I'll tell you
At
that.
Robin, of
Well,
course,
let me
one
know what
doesn't
you-
need
they were less
to
than that for
pursue a
18.
12-year-old for that. I'm speaking to the principles of the matter. That's right. Less combative. This is LJ. Dan, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said half of your age plus 7 is the legal age. Half your age plus 7. Yeah, but you know, you're gonna do that even in your 60s? Come on.
Yes.
Well, half your age plus 7 is
Nah,
usually
that's
the
still
30.
legal.
Yeah. So it's still legal. Yeah. We can't read all
Well, it's
this.
bad when you're 30, I guess.
One cow, one pig, one goat, one horse, one zebra, and one elephant for mines. I don't know what that means.
That's what you have to pay.
Ooh, that was a dowry. And then we got Peter Griffin. Amish do the sleep next to test as well. They sleep next to their temptations. I ain't mad at them. Somebody said, Ricardo Emmanuel, thank you for the facts, Elvis. Great, what's that? Great something, great camera.
I don't know what's good. He just, what the fuck did he really say?
No
Excuse me.
cursing. Come on. Thank you, Peter Griffin. Everyone who's tuned in.
All right.
This is Big Elvis the Chef, along with Ulrich and the Dr. Surgeon, and we just want to say that I love you, and that's a fact. I don't care what anyone says.